Part 7. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 61. Lu Jianming's home. Zhang Chongbang and a group of other police officers opened the door and saw an extremely bloody scene. The bodies of Lu Jianming and the other two were lying on the ground in all directions, and the blood had turned dark red. The strong smell of blood rushed into the nose, and even the members of the serious crime team who were used to such scenes couldn't help but retching. It's a big deal. Zhang Chongbang touched the back of his head and walked back and forth a few steps looking at the corpse. What are you doing? Do it, do you need me to teach you? The members of the serious crime team came back to their senses, and one by one, they endured the discomfort and began to investigate the scene. Zhang Chongbang quickly reported the matter, as this matter was no longer something he could decide. Brother Qing, we're leaving. Ao and others stood at the dock and bowed deeply to Li Cheng. Except for Zhang Chongbang, all their enemies had been killed, and they no longer cared about Hong Kong. Li Cheng looked at the entry of loyalty value 100% above their heads, walked up and patted his arm. He smiled and said, "Let's go. The business over there is handed over to you. Don't make any mistakes. Zhang Chongbang can't touch him now. Find a chance later." Ao nodded. He knew that he had killed several people in a row, and each of them was of status. This matter has been exposed. If he insists on killing Zhang Chongbang, he may drag Li Cheng into the water. Looking at the boat of Chiu Gong Ao and others slowly disappearing from sight, Li Cheng sighed. I thought Ao would be by my side after he was released from prison, but I didn't expect that plans couldn't keep up with changes. Since he was injured by Lu Jianming's sniper rifle last time, he didn't dare to be superstitious about his physical strength. There are indeed fewer masters of firearms around him, especially those sharpshooters with keen sense. Qian Dan, how is Han Chen? Li Cheng asked casually while looking at the waves that were constantly stirring. Brother, there is nothing we can do to him for a while. There are always police officers around him, and he has been in the police station and has not come out. Zhang Qiandan said embarrassedly. Call Ni Yongxiao and let him solve it. Let him solve the murderer of his father himself. Zhang Qiandan nodded. Just as he was about to get on the car, he saw Crow shivering on the side. Just tell me if you have something to say. Brother, can you give me Mary? It turned out that after Mary was detained by Li Cheng's younger brother, the young master had a good time first. After all, he was the only one in the prison. After being in prison for 3 years, not to mention old women, even sows have beautiful faces. On this day, Mary basically did not get out of bed. When the young master just got on the boat, his legs were so weak that he almost fell down. Li Cheng frowned. Where is Fang Ting? She was borrowed by De Hu and Ergo to make a movie. Not to mention that the most popular disc recently is hers. Crow said excitedly. Li Cheng was speechless for a while, waved his hand at Crow, and let him deal with it as he pleased. At this time, Zhang Chongbang had just returned to the police station with the exhausted serious crime team. Zhang Chongbang, the superiors asked you to solve the case within 2 days, otherwise you can submit your resignation report. Zhang Chongbang looked at the white uniform in front of him in despair. This was his direct superior. Sir, 2 days is too short. This is not a discussion, this is an order. White uniform turned around and left after saying that. This time, 3 policemen died in a row, and there was also a wealthy man. There was no way, and he was under a lot of pressure. Zhang Chongbang sat down on the chair dejectedly after hearing this, and then thought of Han Chen in the interrogation room. Opening the door of the interrogation room, Han Chen's lips were cracked due to thirst, and he lay on the table and couldn't get up. Seeing Zhang Chongbang walk in, Sir Zhang, give me a drink of water. Zhang Chongbang looked at Han Chen speechlessly. It turned out that due to multiple murders, the serious crime team rushed to the scene and forgot him in the interrogation room. Tell me. Who is the insider? Zhang Chongbang asked the police officer to hand him a glass of water. Han Chen quickly took the cup of water and drank it all. Ahem, the traitor is Lu Jianming. Zhang Chongbang was shocked at first. Did you know that Lu Jianming was dead? That's why you slandered him. What? Lu Jianming is dead. Han Chen was horrified when he heard that. He knew that it was most likely Li Qing and his gang who did it. He thought Li Qing was cowardly, but he was so bold. It was Li Qing who did it? It was definitely him. Only he is so vicious. Han Chen lost his voice. Do you have any evidence? What evidence do you need? He is a vindictive person and has a small heart. Lu Jianming assassinated him. Han Chen paused and suddenly realized that he might have let something slip. Zhang Chongbang now knew that Han Chen was obviously hiding something from him. Speak. Keep talking. Han Chen knew that he could not hide it anymore, so he told all about the conflict with Li Qing and his own actions. After listening to this, Zhang Chongbang thought deeply for a while. Do you have any evidence? Especially evidence that Li Qing killed someone? Han Chen shook his head. Li Qing was very cautious and generally did not do it himself. Seeing that Han Chen really couldn't say anything, Zhang Chongbang walked out of the interrogation room. Sir Zhang, do you believe what he said? The police officer who walked out with him asked. Zhang Chongbang shook his head and nodded. It doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. What matters is to catch Li Qing's handle. Keep an eye on Han Chen. Li Qing will never let him go. Zhang Chongbang said with certainty. He wanted to use Han Chen as bait to try to catch Li Qing. Boss, the test results are out. After comparing the guns, Siduji and Wan Chai Gun God died from Lu Jianming's gun. A team member hurried over with the results. Zhang Chongbang grabbed the information and quickly looked through it. Both Siduji and Lu Mingjian died from Lu Mingjian's gun, and even Lu Mingjian died from his own gun. Is this possible? The police officer next to him whispered, could it be that Lu Jianming killed two people and then committed suicide? After all, Han Chen said he was a ghost. Zhang Chongbang was about to return to the interrogation room when he met a team member rushing out. Boss, it's bad. Han Chen is dead. Zhang Chongbang pushed the team member away and ran in quickly. Han Chen was bleeding from all 7 holes and lying motionless on the table. Zhang Chongbang stepped forward and touched Han Chen's neck, and his face suddenly became ugly. Then he looked at the paper cup beside him. Take the paper cup for testing. Han Chen had only drunk a glass of water in the interrogation room for most of the day, and he was sure that the problem was in the water or the cup. How cruel. Linked together, leaving no one alive. Zhang Chongbang gritted his teeth and said. This time the clues were broken again, and even the witness died in the police station. A person's name flashed in his mind, Li Qing. But this time he wronged Li Qing. Han Chen's death was actually caused by Ni Yongxiao, and had nothing to do with Li Qing. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 62. According to the Hong Kong police, Kowloon Inspector Lu Jianming owed a huge debt and was dissatisfied with his superiors for a long time. After killing 2 superiors, he shot himself. Please see the detailed report below. It is reported that Lu Jianming transferred a large amount of property to a foreign country 2 days ago and was ready to flee. Li Qing and Ni Yongxiao drank tea and watched the TV report with a smile. Boss Li, you are so perfect in doing things. I admire you. I admire you for getting rid of Han Chen in the police station without making any noise. It's so smart. The two began a new round of flattery. Han Chen's property, I will give it all to Boss Li. Thank you for helping me avenge my father's murder. Li Qing looked at Ni Yongxiao and waved his hand. We just ask for what we need. We will cooperate again next time if we have the opportunity. After that, Li Qing finished the tea in his hand and walked out. Who can tell what will happen in the future? It is not certain whether he is an enemy or a friend. Li Qing is too lazy to deal with Ni Yongxiao now. His biggest task now is to take care of Yao Ma Ti and really hold Yao Mong firmly in his own hands. Brother Cheng. Big brother. Big boss. With the greetings of his younger brothers, Li Qing appeared in Yao Ma Ti. Han Chen has 2 restaurants, 3 bars, 5 shops, and a fake factory built by Han Chen privately in Yao Ma Ti. Li Qing made a lot of money directly. His status in the Hong Kong underworld is getting higher and higher, even more prominent than his respected uncle. Now all the gangsters in Hong Kong take Li Qing as an example. They believe that as long as they dare to fight and fight, they will be able to make it like Li Qing sooner or later. The underworld in Hong Kong used to call him the Tiger of Mong Kok, but now they call him the Fierce Tiger of Yao Mong in private. Li Qing came to the fake factory specially to see how it was running. How about Jimmy? I'll give this business to you. Can you help me take care of it? Jimmy looked at the busy workers excitedly and nodded like pounding garlic. He has come up with several plans for shipping, especially to Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. This kind of A-grade goods is extremely popular, and there is no need to worry about lack of sales. Thank you, Brother Qing, I will do it well. He used to do small things, but now he can finally show his skills. After explaining a few more words, Li Qing took Zhang Dongxiu to the Lin family. Yesterday, Lin Fei called and said that his uncle Lin Jiaqin wanted to meet Li Qing. Not long after, the two came to Lin Jiaqin's manor. Haha, Li Qing is doing well recently. After Lin Fei was rescued by Li Qing after the kidnapping incident, he always regarded him as a good friend. Every now and then, he would call and ask to have a drink and chat. Lin Fei, you've gained weight again. Li Qing said happily as he looked at the fatter Lin Fei. There's no way. I have to sit in the office every day. I can't help but gain weight. Come on, my uncle has been waiting for you for a while. Lin Fei took Li Qing into the manor. Hello, Mr. Lin. Lin Jiaqin was practicing Tai Chi by the pond. When he saw Li Qing coming, he slowly stopped. Li Qing, long time no see. I heard that you not only took over the unfinished building, but also the surrounding land. Lin Jiaqin took the warm towel handed over by the housekeeper and wiped his face. Thank you, Mr. Lin, for your advice. I heard that the government just announced a document to develop that place. Since Li Qing took over the unfinished building, he has been very concerned about the land policy of the Hong Kong government. Lin Jiaqin nodded, well, it's confirmed. I also got the development rights. Li Qing smiled and nodded when he heard this. As long as he can follow this ride this time, he can also gain a firm foothold in the business world. He is very ambitious. After all, most of the businesses under his hands are illegal. Only this place can be considered clean. Lin Jiaqin and Li Qing sat down. I want to ask you something this time. All the wealthy people in Hong Kong are worried about Huo Zayatang's death. How much do you know about this? Lin Jiaqin pretended not to care. Although Huo Zhaotang is not a top figure in the circle, he is also a well-known wealthy person in Hong Kong. He was killed like this, and the top wealthy people are also scared. Li Qing looked at Lin Jiaqin with a serious face. Mr. Lin, if I say I don't know anything, it would be a lie. I can only say that this is a vendetta. People like you don't have to worry. I still have a reputation in the Hong Kong underworld. Most people won't touch the Lin family for my sake. Li Qing also knew it in his heart. It was not someone else, but this old guy was afraid of death. At this stage, the cooperation is good, and Li Qing doesn't mind protecting him. After all, he is the future god of wealth. Lin Jiaqin nodded with satisfaction. At first, he thought Li Qing was just a bad boy who could be used, but he didn't expect Li Qing's power to grow. He doesn't mind making friends with people who are useful to him. After all, Li Qing's reputation in the underworld is not comparable to that of ordinary people. Rich people are always the ones who cherish their lives the most. There is another thing. I don't know if it is accurate or not. I heard that Mr. He of Hejiang will give out the operating rights of a Hejiang casino in the second half of the year. If you are interested, you should be prepared. Lin Jiaquan reported to Li Qing and told him the news he just knew. Li Qing's eyes flickered and he secretly clenched his fist. The operating rights of the casino in Hejiang are a cash cow, a cornucopia of money that makes a fortune every day. He was very satisfied with the news. After all, the words coming from Lin Jiaquan were more credible. Thank you, Mr. Lin, for your advice. I am grateful. Li Qing bowed his hands to express his gratitude. The two chatted for a few more words, and Li Qing said goodbye. Before leaving, he also said hello to Lin Fei. Li Qing, I will take you to a banquet in a while. Lin Fei obviously did not regard Li Qing as an outsider, and was also happy to pull him into his circle. Okay, call me when the time comes. Li Qing made a phone call gesture and got in the car. While there was still time, Li Qing came to the cemetery. This was the first time he had come to see it since Liang Kun was buried. Zhang Dongxiu was about to wipe the tombstone with a wet wipe. Dongxiu, give it to me. Li Qing took the wet wipe, wiped the tombstone carefully, and cleaned up the weeds on the side. A bottle of XO and a bottle of brandy were placed on the table. These were the wines that Liang Kun loved to drink when he was alive. Then he took out 3 locks of hair from his pocket and arranged them carefully. The hair belonged to Chen Henan, Zhang Tiansheng, and the Wan Chai Gun god. Da Li Qing lit a cigarette, took a deep breath, and then put it in front of Liang Kun's tombstone. Li Qing sat down on the ground regardless of the dust on the ground. Brother Kun, don't blame me for coming to see you so late. I have sent my enemies away. Sign for it yourself. Looking at the photo of Liang Kun on the tombstone, Li Qing remembered what he said. Hey, little fellow, don't cry like a woman, take this money to treat your grandfather. I told you not to be the leader, but you just didn't listen, you bastard. Li Qing turned his head away after he finished speaking, not wanting his younger brother to see his red eyes. After staying for about 10 minutes, he waved his hand. Let's go, big brother. Next time I come, I'll burn 17 or 18 girls for you, don't worry. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 63. Back at the villa, only Hong Kong students were at home. Brother Qing, are you back? I'll get you ginseng soup. Ever since there was a Hong Kong student in the villa, Li Qing felt that this was the only place where he could feel like a family. Women like Hong Kong students had disappeared in previous lives. No rush. Li Qing took Hong Kong Sheng's hand, hugged her and sat on the sofa. Is the bar okay recently? He asked while moving his hands up and down. Well, it's no problem. Even if I don't go, it will still be like that. The crows go there every day anyway. Hong Kong Sheng bit his lower lip gently, making a numbing sound. Li Qing reached out and kissed Hong Kong Sheng's neck gently, and the fragrance made him obsessed with it. Shooting, the college entrance examination will be in 1 month. I plan to let her go to college in Hejiang. Li Qing expressed his thoughts. His future power cannot be limited to Xiangjiang. He got into the driver's seat and started the ignition. Brother Qing, do you want to ask Shooting for her opinion? Hong Kong Sheng turned his head and said vaguely while holding Li Qing's earlobe. Let's not talk about this for now, let's have fun together. Don't, here. Okay, right here. They met Xingxin on the way and broke in. Li Qing simply took her to drive with him. A month passed in a blink of an eye. Li Qing had eliminated several small societies and had completely transformed the entire Yaoximong area. Anyone who lives in Xiangjiang may not know who the governor is, but they definitely know who Li Qing is. Speaking of Li Qinglei, everyone gave him a thumbs up. Especially in the corporate societies of the New World, the juniors not only receive a monthly salary, but also bonuses. If they do well, they can even earn more than those who work a 9-to-5 job. Many young and dangerous boys want to join the New World, but Li Qing's rules are stricter. Don't touch flour and don't touch bets. These two are the bottom line. If you are infected with these two things, your humanity will be eliminated. How can a short mule not be a good bet? Therefore, when New World recruits juniors, it does not win based on quantity, but only accepts elites. Chen Shuting's college entrance examination had an uneventful past, and her results were very good, at least far exceeding the admission score of Hejiang University. Brother Qing, can you accompany me to the graduation party? Everyone has a male chaperone. Chen Shuting pulled Li Qing's sleeve and shook it constantly. Me? Is it suitable? A great talker in Yaoximwang went to attend his little girlfriend's graduation party. If the talkers from other clubs found out, he would be laughed to death. Teacher Xingxin, what do you mean? Li Qing deliberately teased Xingxin. Perhaps due to personality reasons, Xingxin still looked very shy after the two had been together for so long. Suitable, right? Xingxin glanced at Chen Shuting secretly and smiled. Li Qing rolled his eyes. It seemed that the two of them had discussed it. Okay, let's go there together tonight. Ah! Chen Shuting ran back and forth in the villa like a happy little lamb. Li Qing shook his head in amusement. This kind of life seems not bad. At around 7 o'clock in the evening, Li Qing was pulled to the school auditorium early by Chen Shuting. Is it necessary to come so early? Li Qing glanced at Chen Shuting, dumbfounded. Chen Shuting stuck out her tongue in embarrassment. Although it was still early, there were still many people in the auditorium, most of them were preparatory students with excited faces. Shooting, shooting. A girl's shout came from the distance. Chen Shuting looked at the girl, narrowed her eyes and smiled. Without saying a word, he walked forward. Shooting, who is this? Don't you have a male companion? Fortunately, I specially found a male companion for you. Madoka complained with a look on her face. She looked up and down at Li Qing, who was next to Chen Shuting, and ignored him. There were no brands on his body, and he didn't even have $300 in total. She didn't need to pay attention. Chen Shuting's expression changed when she heard this. She quickly took Li Qing's hand and introduced to everyone, "This is my boyfriend Li Qing. Don't talk nonsense. I don't want any male companion." Everyone was also interested when they heard this. Ever since Chen Shuting entered school, she had been eating and wearing luxury goods, so they naturally classified her as a lady from a rich family. Especially when Xiao Yuan saw that Chen Shuting was often picked up and dropped off by luxury cars when she was on vacation, the driver was extremely respectful to her. From that time on, she deliberately contacted Chen Shuting, hoping to catch her son-in-law. "Mr. Li, what kind of job do you do to be able to catch our school beauty?" one of the young men asked curiously. "Haha, do some small business and make ends meet." Li Qing didn't care at all about their looks. In his eyes, these were little white sheep who had been severely beaten by society. Hearing this, everyone looked at Li Qing with contempt. As future elites in the workplace, they all had a superior attitude to their core. "Oh, good." He muttered casually and stopped talking. Li Qing didn't care, but Chen Shuting next to him obviously couldn't stand it, and pulled Li Qing towards his seat with a livid face. "Hey, Shooting, I will introduce someone to you later. He is our senior." Chen Shooting pretended not to hear and didn't even look back. "Brother Qing, I'm sorry. I don't know why they are like this. They used to be very enthusiastic." The two of them were sitting on their seats, Chen Shooting said unhappily. She felt that those people didn't respect her man, especially the way they looked him up and down, and the contempt in their tone of voice. Li Qing looked at the little woman who was bowing her head next to him, touched her head, and said indifferently, "It's okay, these people are just passers-by." People always have a natural sense of class superiority to maintain their pitiful inferiority complex. He pointed out the key point incisively, which was nothing more than that he felt that Li Qing was not worthy of Chen Shooting. Although they also felt that they were not worthy of Chen Shooting, it did not prevent them from mocking people who were worse than themselves. The party started soon, just when Li Qing was about to invite Chen Shooting to dance. "Shooting, let me introduce you, this is our senior from the previous class, from Taiwan province. Knowing that your family is engaged in ship transportation, I came to meet you specially." Xiao Yuan didn't care about Chen Shooting's eyes that wanted to stab her. The tall boy stood up, ignored Li Qing, and stretched out his hand to Chen Shooting. "Hello. My name is Lei Fo Hong. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all." Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 64. Chen Shooting rolled her eyes at Lei Fufang and shrank behind Li Qing. Lei Fuxing smiled and retracted his hand, still ignoring Li Qing, looking at Chen Shooting behind him. "Can I ask you to dance? Miss Chen?" Xiao Yuan quickly came to Chen Shooting and pulled her sleeves. "Senior Lei, you are very sincere. He will take us to his private yacht tomorrow." Then he turned to Li Qing next to him and said angrily, "It's just a dance, Mr. Li can't be so stingy." "Yeah, don't be so stingy. It's just that Mr. Lei just wants to dance." "Yes, Brother Li, Mr. Lei's family is also in business, and I can help you when the time comes." A group of people stood aside and watched the show, with playful smiles in their eyes. Li Qing glanced at him and laughed angrily. The last person who mocked him like this made the grass on the graves of his whole family grow an inch taller. Lei Fuxing looked at Chen Shooting with a smile, but he always ignored Li Qing. Zhang Dongxiu, who was standing at the door and had been paying attention to Li Qing, saw his boss surrounded by people and ran over quickly. "Brother, what's wrong?" Zhang Dongxiu's extremely oppressive body made everyone feel a little uncomfortable, especially those who had just made rude remarks. Their expressions changed slightly and they secretly shrank back. "Where are you from? Are you a student? How did you get in? Call the security guard." Madoka looked at the visitor and yelled. Li Qing frowned. This woman was really annoying, but for Chen Shooting's sake, he still endured it. He didn't want to mess up Chen Shooting's graduation party. Lei Fufang looked at Zhang Dongxiu mockingly. Muscles like those developed in the gym were of no use. After waving his hand, the bodyguard not far away from him quickly ran over. "Throw them out," there was arrogance in his tone. Hearing this, two tall bodyguards in black were about to step forward to arrest Zhang Dongxiu. Zhang Dongxiu was not used to it, so he stretched out his palm and slapped the bodyguard on the face with a big mouth. The bodyguard's face involuntarily swayed at a 45-degree angle, and he fainted on the ground in an instant. Seeing this, another bodyguard tried to take out his weapon from his arms, but was kicked by Li Qing and flew 5 meters away, knocking down a row of seats. The whole audience was shocked. Fortunately, the teachers hadn't arrived yet. Most of the people present were students. Otherwise, the police would have been called. Lei Fuxing looked at the bodyguards in shock. These two bodyguards were chosen by his father. He didn't expect to be dealt with like this. But he soon calmed down. With his status, there was no one in the auditorium that he couldn't afford to offend. It seems that you are also a person of some status. Let's get to know each other again. Lei Fufang, the only son of the leader of the Sanlian gang, Lei Gong, from Wanwan province. Lei Fuxing then looked directly at Li Qing and stretched out his hand. The onlookers all around exclaimed. Even people who were not part of the society had heard of the name of the Sanlian gang in Bayan province. Even the way he looked at Lei Fufang was filled with fear. I have long known that Senior Lei is extraordinary. Xiao Yuan deliberately rubbed her round hand against Lei Fuxing's arm. Li Qing's eyes raised slightly and he raised his eyebrows in a smile. 3 Alliance Gang. Lei Fuxing thought that Li Qing was scared, and he felt relieved again as he had been worried just now. Yes, I will take care of you if you have any business in the future, as long as... Lei Fuxing glanced at Chen shooting behind him. Haha, you successfully caught my attention, Lei Fuhong, right? Wait. Li Qing laughed angrily, took out his cell phone from his pocket, dialed a number, and turned on the speakerphone. You're just pretending to be a ghost, even if you call me now, it won't work. Lei Fuxing looked at Li Qing mockingly, as if he wanted to look at a clown. But the voice on the other end of the phone stunned him. Hello, Brother Li? Why did you remember to call me now? He naturally knew the familiar voice, that was his father, Thunder God. Dad. Lei Fuxing blurted out subconsciously. Everyone around looked at Li Qing in shock, thinking that he would call his boss or call the police, but they never expected that he would call Mr. Lei's father. Boss Lei, if I don't call you, I'm afraid I won't be able to help but kill your young master. Li Qing's words made Lei Gong opposite him pause and remain silent for a while. Brother Li, is the dog at your place? He is still young and immature. I apologize to you on his behalf. Don't worry, I'll break his legs when he gets home, and let him go for my own sake. Everyone was shocked when they heard the sound. Judging from the look on Lei Fuhong's face, it was unmistakable that it was Lei Gong on the other end of the phone. The leader of a club that ranks second in the Bay Area actually apologized to the young man in front of him. Thinking of this, everyone couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. At this time, Xiao Yuan also quietly let go of Lei Fuxing's arm and distanced herself from him. Lei Fuhong, I'm doing Lil Yang, apologize to your uncle Li quickly. Mada. You cause trouble for me all day long, Sai Mian Muo, the quintessence of the Chinese nation. Your uncle Li is the talker of the New World. Lei Fuxing was crying, listening to Lei Gong's scolding voice on the phone, and did not name Li Qing's identity until the last sentence. The people watching the excitement turned pale with fright. It turned out that the young man in front of them was actually Li Qing from the New World. I've heard of it before, but never seen it. Lei Fuxun was also very frightened. His father specifically told him not to mess with the New World. The leader of the poisonous snake hall was probably killed by the New World. Unexpectedly, he came to the school to find a woman, so he was kicked against the steel plate. Damn, you're the stinky woman. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. He slapped Xiao Yuan on the face, and the huge force made Xiao Yuan fall to the ground. Xiao Yuan was stunned and speechless. She knew she was finished. Li Qing and Lei Fuhong would not let her go. The corners of Li Qing's mouth slowly curled up. Nephew, why don't you call me uncle? He gestured with his mobile phone. Lei Fuhong clenched his fists hard. He felt like he was stripped naked. He was extremely embarrassed. Uncle Li. I'm sorry. The voice squeezed out of his throat, and then he fled in a hurry, not caring about the bodyguard who had fainted on the ground. Li Qing looked at Lei Fuhong, who ran away with a mocking look, then turned to Zhang Dongxiu and asked, Dongxiu, this suit of mine, handmade by the top tailor in Hong Kong, doesn't look classy. Zhang Dongxiu smiled innocently, brother, your suit is no different from the one sold on the street. Stop talking, you know nothing. No taste. Li Qing rolled his eyes at Zhang Dongziu. What does a big and strong man know? Brother, what should we do with this woman? Zhang Dongziu pointed at Xiao Yuan, who was lying on the ground. Sell her to East Africa, I don't want to see her again. Xiao Yuan finally reacted and knelt down in front of Chen Shooting, crying. Shooting, Shooting, save me, I was wrong, I was really wrong. Forgive me. Chen Shooting looked at Xiao Yuan, who was pulling her trouser legs and crying miserably, and looked at Li Qing embarrassedly. Seeing Chen Shooting's pleading eyes, Li Qing changed his words, let her sign a contract with Dehu and become a star. After saying that, he ignored her and pulled Chen Shooting out of the auditorium. She would definitely not be able to attend the party after such a disturbance. Sorry, I messed up your graduation party. Li Qing hugged Chen Shooting's slender waist and the two walked on the campus. Chen Shooting shook her head, it doesn't matter, we won't see each other anymore anyway. Looking at Chen Shooting's delicate face under the starlight, Li Qing couldn't help but kiss her. After a long time, the lips parted, and Chen Shooting tried her best to pull down Li Qing's hand that was playing tricks in the headlights. Let's go to the hotel and let you have an unforgettable graduation party, Li Qing said with a sly smile. Ah! What? Interrupt. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 65. In the hotel late at night, Chen Shooting had fallen into a deep sleep, with a faint smile on her face. It's just that the corner of the mouth is a little cracked, I don't know what caused it. Li Qing also hugged her gently and fell into a deep sleep. At the same time, Lei Fu bombarded his mansion on the other side and kept beating the two bodyguards who were kneeling on the ground. The two bodyguards were stripped of their shirts and forced to kneel on the ground. There were purple bruises on their backs. Master Lei, have mercy on me. Even the cry for mercy was very weak. It had obviously been beaten for a long time. Lei Fufang was still angry and called someone younger than himself uncle in public. This was his biggest humiliation in more than 20 years. Okay, do you really want to beat someone to death? A noble man sitting on the sofa with oil on his hair said lazily. Isn't Uncle Lei in the controversial seat? If someone is killed, it will have a great impact on him. After hearing this, Lei Fuxing finally stopped, waved his hand, and several people carried the two bodyguards down. He sat heavily on the sofa, leaning on the back of the sofa and gasping, what a shame. The noble prince glanced at him and kept playing with the jade brave in his hand. He tilted his head and asked, is this Li Qing really awesome? He knew the power of the Sanlian gang in the Gulf province, but he was a little curious that Li Qing could actually make Lei Fuxing bow his head. Lei Fuxing smoothed his sweat-drenched hair and said, oh, he's just a bad guy who just got up in recent years. My dad is afraid that I will affect his election. He told a lie because he didn't want to show his cowardice in front of his friends. The friend in front of me is the son of Hong Kong tycoon Chen Li. He once donated hundreds of millions of dollars to the United States. He is a typical banana man. His son Chen Hui grew up in the United States and met Lei Fuxing in the United States. He recently returned to Hong Kong and is now learning business from his father. Chen Hui nodded when he heard Lei Fuxing's words. His guess was good. It seemed that Li Qing was a more powerful dwarf mule. Don't be angry. I will take you to a banquet the day after tomorrow. Only the second generation of the real top rich in Hong Kong will attend. Chen Hui said with a little pride that he was actually not qualified to participate, but his cousin had something to do and could not participate, so he asked him to participate on his behalf. When Lei Fuxing heard this, his face showed excitement. He knew how difficult it was to enter the rich circle in Xiangjiang. And you can't enter just by having money. You must have a certain reputation to be qualified to enter this circle. Li Qing has been having a good time in the past 2 days, and all business is going on normally, especially Jimmy's A-grade bags. The increase in sales allowed him to completely open up the Southeast Asian market. When the profit was at its highest, it even exceeded that of smuggled mobile phones. In terms of life, Li Qing realized a man's dream for the first time, sleeping with a big quilt. It's a pity that there are only two people, Hong Kong Sheng and Shooting, and Xingxin disagrees with her death. However, Li Qing is not worried. Good girls are afraid of being beaten by others. Sooner or later, there will be such a day. As night fell, a black Mercedes-Benz parked at the entrance of the Wangguo Hotel. Li Qing opened the car door and got out of the car, tightening his tight-fitting suit. No one recognized the special suit he bought for hundreds of thousands last time. This time he wore Baleno, a major international brand. "Hello sir, your invitation." Li Qing handed the invitation that Lin Fei sent early in the morning to the security personnel. No one can get in without an invitation. Tisk, tisk, the life of rich people is really luxurious. The banquet has obviously not started yet. People in the banquet hall are standing together in twos and threes chatting. He still held a goblet in his hand and clinked the glass from time to time. Li Qing sighed. Lin Fei waved his hand and said hello. Judging from the way he was standing in the C position, there should be a small group headed by him. Li Qing walked over generously and took a glass of red wine from the plate held by the waiter. Although his drink tasted like swill, he still do as the Romans do. "Master Lin. Come on, let me introduce you to everyone. This is my friend and savior Li Qing." Lin Fei introduced it to everyone generously. "Come on Li Qing, this is young Master Huo, and this is Miss Wu." Li Qing also greeted everyone one after another. "This is Mr. He Jianghe's daughter, Miss He Min." Lin Fei winked at Li Qing and introduced one of the ladies. "I saw this lady, slim and tall, 29 years old, with deep-set eyes and a few freckles on her face. With her fair skin, Li Qing's eyes lit up. "Hello Miss He, I am Li Qing." "Hello." He Min just nodded politely and did not extend his hand. Li Qing waved his hand indifferently and said, "It has personality, I like it." It is true that most people at the banquet didn't care much about Li Qing, thinking that he was just an ordinary person who had reached the sky in one step, and only relied on Lin Fei's appreciation to enter this kind of party. For this kind of person, all you need to do is show superficial courtesy, and they won't interact with each other in the future anyway. At this time, Li Qing also knew that Lin Fei's purpose of inviting him to the banquet was just to make him look familiar in front of He Min, which would help him win the right to operate the casino in the future. While Lin Fei, Li Qing, and others were chatting. "Why is he here?" Lei Fuxing murmured curiously. As a talkative person in a society, coming to this kind of banquet gives people a sense of disobedience. "Huh? Who is it?" "A friend you know." Chen Hui asked curiously. Lei Fuxing pointed at Li Qing in the distance and whispered, "The man in the black suit is Li Qing." There was hatred in his eyes, and his fists were clenched tightly. "Oh? Come on, go over and take a look." After saying that, he took Lei Fuabang and walked towards Li Qing's direction. "Are you Li Qing?" The sudden sound interrupted the joking of Lin Fei and others. Li Qing looked at the person and found that he really didn't recognize him. But when he saw Lei Fuhong behind him, he understood everything. He was here to cause trouble. "What are you doing?" "It's okay, I just heard that you are very brave and asked my brother to call you uncle." Chen Hui looked at Li Qing playfully, especially when he saw the brand of Li Qing's suit, he became even more unscrupulous. Someone who can wear a suit worth tens of thousands of dollars to a banquet is not worthy of his respect. Everyone else crossed their arms and watched the scene gossiping, especially because they wanted to see Li Qing's reaction. "You are also very brave. No one in Xiangjiang has dared to speak to me like this for a long time." Li Qing looked at Chen Hui across from him teasingly, then moved his eyes to look at Lei Fuefang. "My dear nephew, Did you see that your uncle didn't say hello? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 66. Lei Fohong almost bit his back teeth when he heard this. If he yelled, what face would he have here? Puff. He man next to him was amused by Li Qing's words. Lei Fohong's face was ashen. Li Qing, don't go too far. Chen Hui beside him was also indignant. Li Qing didn't take him seriously and even provoked his friends. I heard that you are the leader of the society. Are you good at fighting? Let me tell you, what matters now is money and strength. The era of fighting and killing is over. Chen Hui looked at Li Qing with disdain. The ants at the bottom actually yelled at him. Believe it or not, I can make you die at the door with just one phone call. Chen Hui became more and more excited as he spoke, not caring at all that Lei Fohong pulled his clothes. Lin Fei couldn't help but say at this time, I don't know who you are, and I don't know who invited you here. Don't make trouble here. Li Qing patted Lin Fei's shoulder and looked at Chen Hui with a smile. He stretched out his right hand and made a gesture of invitation, please start your performance. Chen Hui was stunned when he heard this. This man did not play by the rules. Fortunately, he was indeed confident. His father was the big water pipe behind the Hong Kong society He. With an indignant look on his face, he picked up his mobile phone and dialed a number, and turned on the speakerphone. Hello, Mr. Chen, what do you want? The voice of Fatty Cheng, the boss of He, came from the other end of the phone. There is a boy in front of me who is very arrogant. I don't want him to see the sun tomorrow. By the way, he is also the boss of a society. As an old brand with the word he is considered to be a stronger second rate among the current Hong Kong societies. Ordinary small societies dare not provoke them. Oh. I don't know which one is blind enough to provoke Mr. Chen. Don't worry, I will definitely not let him have an easy time. Fatty Cheng said carelessly. Every year, Chen Li would give He a large sum of money to let them do some shameful things. Watching Chen Hui's performance, Li Qing didn't care at all. He took out the cigarette from his pocket, lit it and took a deep breath. He saw Li Qing surrounded by smoke and suddenly became a little curious about this guy. He didn't know how he would deal with it. Chen Hui looked at Li Qing proudly and felt very proud. This kid's name is Li Qing, and he is now in the International Hotel. Plop, the sound of a heavy object falling to the ground came from the phone. After a while, a voice came from the other side, Who? Who are you talking about? At the end, the voice was a little broken. Li Qing, there is something wrong with your ears, Muesli, Qing of green grass. Fat Lao Chen didn't care about Chen Hui's tone, give the phone to Li Qing. Although Chen Hui was strange, he still moved the phone closer to Li Qing, here. Brother Qing. A slightly trembling tentative voice came from the phone. Yeah. Just a yes scared Fat Lao Chen to collapse from the ground. Brother Qing, I don't know him. It's none of my business. Yeah. Li Qing said yeah again. The fat guy on the other side was relieved and hung up the phone immediately. Chen Hui looked at the phone in astonishment. What was going on? Why did he hang up the phone? Except for Lin Fei and the silent Lei Fohong, everyone looked at Li Qing curiously. They didn't know that he was so prestigious at such a young age. His name alone scared away a leader of a society. Li Qing looked at Chen Hui with contempt, ignored him and slowly walked towards Lei Fohong behind him. Mr. Lei, you are useless even if I give you a chance. You don't think you can make me surrender with the name of Mr. Lei, right? Looking at Li Qing step by step, Lei Fohong was also panicked. Uncle Li. I said I don't know. Do you believe it? When He Min heard Lei Fohong call her uncle, she smiled again. If it wasn't for the wrong occasion, she would have laughed out loud. Li Qing said nothing and shook his head. Didn't your father teach you? But my boss taught me, I have to admit my mistakes. Lei Fohong on the opposite side gritted his teeth, quietly approached the table where the food was placed, and picked up a table knife. Li Qing had already seen his little action, and saw Lei Fohong's table knife stabbing towards Li Qing. Li Qing smiled contemptuously, and his hand was like a tiger claw, and he grabbed Lei Fohong's elbow, and then flipped it. With a click, Lei Fohong's forearm was bent back. In an instant, Li Qing took the table knife and scratched his little finger. Lei Fohong's screams resounded throughout the banquet hall, and everyone in the banquet hall looked over. The rich second generation around Lin Fei looked at the scene in horror, and some even began to stay away from Li Qing. Li Qing didn't care about other people's eyes, threw the table knife in his hand, slowly squatted down and picked up half of his little finger. Then, in the eyes of everyone's fear, he put it into the goblet. Drink this glass of wine, or I will keep you from leaving Hong Kong. I mean what I say. Li Qing's tone was calm, but with irresistible majesty. At this time, Lei Fohong tried his best to endure the pain, trembling as he looked at him, picked up the goblet and drank it all. Then he got up and hurried away with the severed finger. After all, he could go to the hospital to reattach it in a short time. Everyone was stunned by Li Qing, but He Min's face did not show any fear, but looked at Li Qing with great interest. Li Qing stood up and looked at Lin Fei with a slightly apologetic look on his face. I'm sorry, Lin Fei. Lin Fei immediately reacted, shook his head, smiled and said, it's okay, you are my friend. Then Li Qing looked at Chen Hui, who was dazed at the side. Chen Hui was so frightened that his urethral sphincter relaxed and he actually peed. She glanced at his wet pants with contempt. Go home and wait to die. Even Jesus can't save you, I say so. Then without saying anything, he walked out of the banquet hall. The domineering words made He Min's eyes a little blurry. It had been a long time since he had met such a manly man. Chen Hui collapsed on the ground for a while and didn't get up for a long time. Fat Man Cheng thought for a long time before calling Chen Li, and the call was quickly answered. Mr. Chen, I will ask my younger brother to send you the sponsorship fee for this year right away. We will not accept this year's work. Chen Li was stunned when he heard this. The two of them worked well together, but why did Fatty Cheng suddenly quit? Fat Man Cheng, are you short on money? Just tell me the price and I will send it to you right away. In his eyes, this is nothing more than a way for these bad guys to extort money. Mr. Chen, I'm afraid I'll take my life, but I won't spend it. You'd better go see your young master. Fatty Cheng said cryptically. Okay, let's work together again if we have the chance. Chen Li shook his head strangely. He didn't really care. There were so many societies like Xiangjiang, and they were just asking for more money. It must be my bad boy causing trouble again. Ever since the son came back, he has not had a day to worry about, but he has been causing trouble everywhere. After dialing Chen Hui's number, Chen Li heard Chen Hui crying loudly before he could ask. Dad, save me. Save me, Dad. Chen Li frowned. He still had some energy in Xiangjiang. What could have caused Chen Hui to collapse like this? Now Chen Hui was really frightened, especially after seeing with his own eyes the scene where Lei Fuxun was forced to drink red wine. He felt that what Li Qing said was true. What's going on? Tell me slowly. Chen Li asked calmly. Li Qing wants to kill me. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 67. Li Qing. He had also heard of Li Qing's name. He seemed to have rescued Lin Jiaqin's nephew from the kidnappers. Just wait, I'll send someone to pick you up. Chen Hui told him that he would take his friends to the banquet today. After hanging up the phone, he immediately ordered the bodyguard beside him, "Akiang, go pick me up and be careful." The tall bodyguard heard the sound, nodded, and hurried out. An hour later, the bodyguard returned home carrying a limp Chen Hui on his back. How did it end up like this? Chen Li frowned and glanced at Chen Hui, whose legs and feet were weak. Excessively frightened. The bodyguard said softly. Seeing Chen Hui being helped back to his room, Chen Li looked a little ugly. "Mr. Chen, there is something I don't know whether I should say." "Explain." "On the way back, there were cars following us until we entered the villa. I was afraid." The bodyguard told Chen Li everything he saw on the road, and Chen Li knew that the matter was serious. Not long after Lin Fei was kidnapped, he was afraid that Chen Hui would become the next kidnapping target, and the kidnappers didn't want any money. In fact, as soon as Li Qing left the hotel, he had already ordered Zhang Qiandan to kill Chen Hui. "Why don't we call the police?" Chen Li's wife came out at some point and heard the two men's phone calls. "Call the police?" If Lin Jiaqin had called the police, his nephew would have been voted out. "Do you think the police in Xiangjiang are GA from the mainland?" Chen Li sneered at the police in Xiangjiang. As the countdown approached, some police officers in Xiangjiang were focusing on immigration. "We can't sit still and wait for death. Lao He, please contact other associations in Xiangjiang to see who can provide protection." Chen Li said to the old housekeeper. "I remember that the housekeeper Lao He was also a famous red stick in the world. Since he was rescued by Chen Li, he has been working as a housekeeper in the Chen mansion. It was he who introduced Heheto to Chen Li." After hearing this, Lao He nodded and immediately walked out of the room. Chen Li pinched his stinging temples. In his mind, Li Qing's matter was not difficult to solve, it was just a matter of paying more money. But Lei Fuxing's injury left him scratching his head. After all, it was his son who invited Lei Fuxing to the banquet, and he had nothing to do with it. What's more, some businesses in the Gulf province still need the help of the local gangster Sanlian gang. Reluctantly, he dialed Lei Gong's phone number. Lao He on the other side thought for a while and went to find the fat guy he was most familiar with, Cheng, to understand the situation. After not being around for several years, he still had to figure out some things, especially since he didn't know much about Li Qing, a rising star. Not long after, we arrived at the main hall of Hehetu. "Fat man Cheng, what's going on? How can you do this so well?" Lao He, who had just walked in, couldn't help but say. Fat man Cheng drank tea and glanced at Lao He. "You want to die, but I don't want to die." Lao He's eyes narrowed. To be able to make a talker in a second-rate club so fearful, this Li Qing must not be that simple. "Haha, it's not that serious, right? Can't we make peace? In the worst case, I'll ask Mr. Chen to apologize." Lao He spread his hands and asked tentatively. Fatty Cheng looked embarrassed. He really didn't want to get involved in this matter. But Lao He had blocked a knife for him back then, and he always remembered this incident. Gritting his teeth, "Do you have to get involved in this matter?" Lao He was silent for a moment. "Mr. Chen, you saved my life back then." Lao He knew that forcing the fat man to succeed this time was equivalent to using up the last of his affection. "Okay, I'll show you the way. First, find Zhang Sheng from Xinji, but also Sister D from Helian Sheng. It's useless for you to look for other clubs." Fatty Cheng said decisively. Lao He frowned. He knew that these two clubs were the top 3 clubs in Xiangjiang. The point was that he couldn't talk to either club. Can't Hongxing and Dongxing? These two clubs are also among the top ones. Fat man Cheng looked at Lao He and sneered, "Do you think Li Qing's new world power is very small? Then it's because Li Qing was too strict in selecting his younger brothers. It wouldn't be a problem to beat up 3 young men from the New World. Lao He was stunned and speechless for a moment. Do you want to be so exaggerated? The fat man said nothing and shook his head. This old he has been away from the world for too long and doesn't understand many things. The two chatted for a few more words, and Lao He walked out of the house with a gloomy face. It seemed that things were not as easy as he thought. Then he looked for a few familiar clubs. When they heard it was Li Qing, they all shook their heads like a rattle. I had no choice but to return to the Chen family villa and report to Chen Li. Butler there is a car following us. The driver looked in the rearview mirror and found that a black car had been following him. Lao He looked back and took out a pistol from his arms. Drive faster. Hearing this, the driver increased the accelerator and drove towards the villa. In the black car was Crow and a few younger brothers. Seeing the car in front of him suddenly accelerate, Wu Wu slapped the driver on the head. Drive quickly, didn't you see the car in front of you speeding up? He took this job from John Candon. Watching the show all the time is so boring. It was not easy for him to have such an exciting thing, but he had been tormenting John Candon for a long time, and finally he promised to let Mary borrow John Candon for 2 days to win the job. The younger brother was beaten and looked aggrieved. Brother Crow, their car is good. We can't catch up even if we step on the accelerator to the bottom. Damn, I really can't count on you. Crow glared at his younger brother, took out his pistol, opened the car window and half of his body was exposed outside the car. Wow! Crow shouted strangely and started shooting at the car in front. Lao He in the car in front only heard the sound of bang 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 from the trunk of the car. Frightened, he quickly lay on the back seat and dared not look up. Hurry up, faster. The driver stepped on the accelerator desperately, and beads of sweat dripped down his forehead. A half-hour journey was completed in 10 minutes. It must be said that human potential is infinite. Until entering the villa, Lao He breathed a sigh of relief. And the crow outside, watching the car enter the villa, was so angry that he kicked the younger brother. Brother Crow, why are you kicking me? He is driving the car, another younger brother said aggrievedly. Damn, it's because of your weight that we can't catch up with the car in front. Finally, the crow was so angry that he took out a big pineapple from the car, bit off the pull ring and threw it in. Boom! A huge noise sounded in the villa, and the excited crow danced on the street. In the villa, everyone was frightened by the huge explosion. At the same time, the driver who just got off the car was also killed. He rolled and crawled into the villa. He thought he was fine just now, but who knew that Li Qing's little brother would be so crazy? What's going on? Chen Li looked out the window in shock. You know, this is a villa area. Many wealthy people have houses here. He sat on the ground with lifeless eyes. Mr. Chen, it's Li Qing's people. They just followed us. Chen Li's eyes widened and he said in fear, this is a humming terrorist attack. Is there still a king's law? Is there still law? Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 68. Chen Li and others were terrified. The whole family was staying in the basement. No one dared to sleep for fear that another grenade would fly. It wasn't until dawn that Chen Li and others, who were exhausted physically and mentally, felt a little relieved, but decided to sleep in the basement for a few more nights. After the fear passed, anger surged into his heart. He had dominated the business world for so many years, but he had never encountered such a thing. Lao He has already told Chen Li what Fatty Cheng said yesterday. Chen Li asked Lao He to contact Xinji and Helianzhen again, this time no matter how much money he spent, he would get the place back. At this time, Li Qing was looking at the crow dancing in front of him to take credit for himself. Brother, you don't know how brave I was last night. That scene was not much different from the Gulf War. The boy next to him was stunned by his boast. What he knew was that he fired a few shots and threw a grenade. He didn't know but thought Crow had gone to work as a mercenary. Looking at the Crow speechlessly, Li Qing rubbed his face with his hands. "Maid, if you didn't see this loyalty value 100%, I would sell you to East Africa for mining." "So? What's the result?" Li Qing's question gave Crow a pause. "Brother, the security on the other side is too tight. If I bring a few more grenades tonight, I can definitely scatter their ashes." Hearing this, Li Qing drew a dark line. "You think the Xiangjiang police are fools? There was such a big movement yesterday. It exploded with the strips all in one piece." Crow looked at Li Qing excitedly, and his words were a little excited. Before he finished speaking, his phone rang, and he waved his hand to tell Crow and others to get out of the room. "Hello, Li Qing." The coquettish voice reached his ears, and he set up a tent to show respect. "Ahem, big sister-in-law D, didn't you just go there the day before yesterday?" Sister D on the other end of the phone straightened up her proud bust, and a charm flashed in her eyes. "Oh, no matter how big it is, I'll tell you something." "You say?" After a long time, he hung up the phone with a gloomy expression. Li Qing's fingers kept tapping on the edge of the table, making ta-da-da sounds. It seems that Chen Li still wants to struggle. "Crow, come in." The Crow heard the sound and walked in slowly. "Brother, I think I was wrong to attract the attention of so many police officers." Wu Wu lowered his head with an aggrieved look on his face. He had just been threatened by Zhang Qiandan, demanding that he apologize to his elder brother or sell Mary to East Africa. "In the evening, you go there again and blow up his villa for me. Well, remember to bring the RPG-7. Li Qing leaned back and pressed his body on the back of the chair so that no one could see his expression. "Huh? Huh? Huh?" Crow looked like he couldn't believe it. He thought his elder brother's call to come in would be a scolding. "What? If you don't want to go, then my name is Qian Dan." The Crow roared, Go, let me not touch women for a day, and I will go too." Bazooka. Exciting, Wen song. After listening to Li Qing's instructions, Wu Wu took his younger brother and hurried out to prepare. "Shinji, if you dare to stretch out your claws, your hands will be chopped off." Li Qing muttered softly. "I just learned from Sister D that Chen Li not only found He Liansheng, but also seemed to find Shinji to deal with Li Qing. Since he dared to do it with real swords and guns, Li Qing would naturally not spoil him. We just let the crows go. Tonight, New World is going to Hongxin to unfurl the flag. We need to attract Taizi's attention first. Of course, we have to contact Brother Ji and ask him to cooperate in a scene." In the evening, Kuai Qing, Han Ben looked at the neatly organized Li Qing boys standing opposite. He turned around and looked at himself again, seeing the boys standing crookedly. Shaking his head in despair, he had to throw away the goods. "Remember, today is just for showing off the horse, no one is allowed to do anything, otherwise there will be no settlement money if you die." Han Ben said helplessly, "No one chose him, but he was chosen." It seems that Li Qing is not exaggerating, the situation is too small. Also, never pay attention to the yelling and scolding from the other side. Remember this. The boys looked at Han Ben strangely and refused to scold him. "Are you here to be scolded for your feelings?" Before he had time to think more, Dehua, who was taking the lead on the opposite side, couldn't help it anymore. "Opposite side, can you stand up? What's going on? You collapsed on the ground before you even hit me. If you don't refute this, it seems you really have no eggs. If you don't have eggs, why keep a girl? Send her over quickly and I'll make a little movie." Finally, a green guy couldn't help it anymore. "You street boy, if you call me again, I'll beat you to death." Dehua was overjoyed when he heard this, and finally waited. "Brothers, if he dares to scold us, chop him. Brother Dahuo, that's not a curse, that's a catchphrase. Hanbin shouted quickly, but it was already too late. I saw the younger brother from the New World rushing towards Hanbin like a chicken blood. Hanbin's younger brother collapsed at the first touch. At this time, the Chen family villa was quiet, and Taizi's eyes were drawn to the battle between New World and Hongxing. Only 2 or 3 patrolmen passed by occasionally. Wu Wu and others drove slowly towards the Chen family villa. Pa the Crow hit the boy who was driving the car on the head. I asked you to repair the car last time, but what did you do? The younger brother covered his head with tears in his eyes. Brother, there are too many things in the trunk. Crow took 9 rocket launchers, not to mention grenades, axe, and the like. No wonder the car was driving like a snail, and the younger brother was afraid that if he drove too fast, there would be a collision and everyone in the car would die. You dare to talk back, I will hit you. The younger brother shrank his shoulders and stopped not far from the Chen family villa. Crow gave up the idea of continuing to hit the younger brother, got out of the car quickly, opened the trunk, rubbed his hands, and looked at the weapons inside excitedly. He held the RPG-7 on his shoulders with both hands like a treasure, and climbed onto the roof of the car with a jump. Brother, the recoil is quite strong. The younger brother hurriedly supported Crow's legs. Bullshit, how could I not know? Get out, stay away from me, don't affect my performance. The younger brother smiled embarrassedly and took a few steps back. Crow aimed at the Chen family villa opposite, opened the safety, and pulled the trigger. 2 whooshes sounded, and the rocket launcher flew towards the villa like an arrow from a bow. The huge explosion sounded in a radius of 3 kilometers, and the whole villa was set on fire. The younger brother looked at the roof of the car in admiration. Huh? Brother Crow? Brother Crow. It turned out that one of the 2 whooshes just now was Crow's. The huge backseat made Crow fall on the green belt on the side of the road. The younger brother hurriedly helped Crow out of the green belt. Crow looked at me steadily, and scared me so much that my face turned pale. I said I didn't eat dinner tonight, do you believe it? Yeah. Don't tell anyone about this, or I'll break your legs. Later, Crow fired a few more shots and danced on the street. By the way, hey, I dance better, or Aja dances better. The younger brother lowered his head. Well, of course you are Brother Crow, Aja can't keep up with the rhythm. Crow nodded complacently, got in the car and left. At this time, Chen Li was sitting in the basement with a frightened face, and he could still vaguely feel the heat waves rolling from above. Father, why don't we just forget it? Chen Hui said tremblingly, and he suspected that this was not Hong Kong, but Iraq. Chen Li pursed his lips tightly, with fear in his eyes. He underestimated Li Qing's madness. Now there was probably only one person in Hong Kong who could save him. He took out his mobile phone and dialed the man's number. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 69. Hello, Mr. Lin. I'm really sorry to call you so late. Chen Li spoke differently from before, with a very respectful attitude. Hong Kong's wealthy people are also divided into levels. Mr. Lin Jiaqin and Mr. Huo Dong are considered top tier, followed by Lu Xiang, Guo Xiang, and others who are considered second tier, and Chen Li belongs to the third tier series. Of course, this is not just based on the amount of wealth. Mr. Huo Dong is not rich in Hong Kong, but he has made great contributions to the country, and his prestige in the circle even exceeds that of the richest man Lin Jiaqin. Even Li Qing admires him very much. Mr. Chen, is there something? Lin Jiaqin's voice came from the other end of the phone. Well, there is something that I may need your help. Chen Li considered it and expressed his thoughts. He still decided to give in. This Li Qing was inhumane and even used a rocket launcher. No one in the whole of Hong Kong was so arrogant. What's more, his industry has been harassed by gangsters recently. On the other side, Lin Jiaqun shook his head secretly after listening to Chen Li's narration. The reason why he went to Li Qing instead of Zhang Sheng, who was highly respected in the underworld, was that prestige alone was not enough, and he had to make Zhang Xiao and other robbers afraid to act rashly. Li Qing was just such a person, ruthless in his actions, and ordinary people did not dare to offend him. Mr. Chen, I can only say that I will give it a try, but I dare not guarantee it. Chen Li was delighted and thanked him quickly. Thank you, Mr. Lin. He believed that as long as Lin Jiaqun spoke, there would definitely be room for easing the situation. After hanging up the phone, Chen Li breathed a sigh of relief and turned to look at his disappointing son. He kicked him. You are so cold, causing trouble every day. Damn, after this incident, I will send you abroad and never come back. Chen Hui staggered and fell to the ground, crying and saying nothing. I thought I could show off my power when I returned to Hong Kong, but I didn't expect to kick the steel plate when I came back. It was really too bad. Damn, it's all Lei Fohong's fault. He deserved to have his fingers chopped off by Li Qing. Suddenly, he felt a little hatred towards Lei Fohong. The fight between the two friends has reached a fever pitch. The one-sided situation has disappointed the clubs watching the fun. At the same time, they also felt fear. The Hong Seeing side had no fighting power at all and was instantly overwhelmed by the New World. Standing upstairs and watching the New World conquer Kwai Tsing, Li Qing showed a hint of embarrassment on his face. Because Brother Ji next to him was staring at him blankly. Ahem, Brother Ji, do you believe me if I didn't arrange it? A helpless expression flashed across Li Qing's face. Brother Ji shook his head and then nodded. I believe it. Seeing Brother Ji's disbelief, Li Qing was speechless. De Hu knew that his elder brother was watching the fight, so he pushed the door open and walked in. His body was covered with blood stains and he looked excited. Brother, we've taken it down. Without saying a word, Li Qing slapped De Hu on the head. Damn, I asked you to act, but you turned it into reality. Will I, Li Qing, still have credibility in the world? De Hu covered his head in grievance. Brother, they scolded us first. Brother Ji rolled his eyes beside him. It was so loud just now that even the dead could hear it. Well, it's wrong for them to scold people, but you are too impulsive. Don't do it again next time. Li Qing looked at De Hu seriously. Brother Ji. This is Brother Ji's phone ringing. Han Bin called. Brother Ji, we agreed to act. Why are you really fighting? My people have been beaten up. Let Li Qing stop. Han Bin's roar came from the phone. Now Brother Ji's old face is a little embarrassed. He holds the phone and doesn't say a word. That Han Bin, I'm so sorry, my subordinates are ignorant. Li Qing snatched the phone and his tone was much softer. Li Qing, Brother Qing, let them leave quickly. The police are coming. Han Bin's tone was full of tears. Well, the little brothers are not obedient and won't leave no matter what. How about you go to Tuen Mun and squeeze in with the dinosaurs first? When Li Qing heard no sound from the other end, he hung up the phone. Han Bin listened to the busy tone on the phone with a blank face. You are really damned, Li Qing, you old fool. Brother Ji, you heard it, Han Bin said he was going to keep the dinosaurs company. Li Qing returned the phone to Brother Ji, who was stunned by his tricks. What are you doing? Go take over the shops and bars. Li Qing said loudly, staring at De Hu who was in a daze. De Hu secretly gave his boss a thumbs up and turned to leave the room. Brother Ji, don't look at me like that, I'm just managing it on behalf of Han Bin and will give it back to him. Brother Ji rolled his eyes. I don't believe you, this guy is mean and mean. At this time, Li Qing's cell phone suddenly rang. He looked at the number, casually greeted Brother Ji, and walked out. "Hello, Mr. Lin." Li Qing raised his eyebrows, wondering what the god of wealth wanted to do with him. "Hello, Li Qing. Chen Li came to me to intercede. Some things can be negotiated, don't be so extreme." Li Qing chuckled when he heard this. Chen Li actually asked Lin Jiaqin to intercede. This matter is not impossible to negotiate. "Mr. Lin, I think you know the whole story. Li Qing, don't cause trouble, but I'm not afraid of it. There are 5 people in his family. $500 million to buy the lives of his whole family. This is my bottom line." With a firm tone, Lin Jiaqin said okay and hung up the phone. In fact, Li Qing didn't care much about the money, but Lin Jiaqin personally interceded for him, so he had to give him this face. In addition, Li Qing wanted to make this ungrateful wolf bleed. Chen Li was a well-known banana man. He made money in Hong Kong, but donated hundreds of millions of dollars to American universities. Li Qing hated this kind of person the most. 10 minutes later, Lin Jiaqin called Chen Li and told him Li Qing's conditions, and then decisively hung up the phone. The words had been brought to him, and he didn't care whether Chen Li agreed or not. Chen Li was silent after hearing this. "Why is it 500 million? Dad, Mom, me, my sister, and who else?" Chen Hui asked in confusion. Chen Li's veins popped out when he heard this. This Li Qing was really amazing. Few people knew that he had an illegitimate child, but he could find out. "Shut up, Big Fatty is also our family," Chen Li said guiltily, pointing at the golden retriever lying next to him. "Chen Li, you are so good, do you think I am a fool?" Chen Li's wife started scratching his face. 2 days later, there were $500 million in the New World account. Li Qing looked at the extra string of zeros in the account. "Haha, 500 million will let you live 5 more days, as long as you go abroad, haha." "Brother Qing, what are you looking at?" Xingxin came over with a bowl of tremella and lotus seed soup. Xingxin is learning to cook with Hongsheng recently. It happened that Li Qing was at home today, so she wanted him to taste her cooking skills. "Nothing, what happened recently?" Li Qing took the bowl and took a sip gently. Sweet. Shu Ting is going to report to Hejiang University. You have been busy these days, and she wants you to accompany him." Li Qing nodded when he heard it. It was just right to go to Hejiang to see AO and to make a preparatory move for the operation rights of the casino. The big hand began to hold the round steamed bun, and Li Qing peeled off the skin and took a bite. "Brother Qing, don't do it here." Xingxin's voice made Li Qing stand at attention immediately. Li Qing picked up Xingxin and left. "Ah, it's not the kitchen. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all." Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 70. After successfully taking over Tuodi in the Quaiching area, Li Qing's power expanded again, and everyone in the small community in Xiangjiang was in danger. Everyone thought that the New World would continue to invade Hongxing or other societies, but at this time Li Qing left Xiangjiang. As for Chen Li and his family, they were too worried and fled to the United States after spending $500 million. "I never expected that I would be robbed by a black man and immediately killed by the gang." It is said that the robber looked so scared that he did not evacuate until he ran out of bullets. Chen Li and others were all shot with bullet holes by automatic rifles. Even the unknown illegitimate child disappeared out of thin air, and the remaining assets were divided among a group of unscrupulous relatives. At this time, Li Qing took Chen Shooting and a few younger brothers directly to the Hejiang River next door on a cruise ship. "Brother Qing, look at Hejiang, apart from having fewer people than Xiangjiang, it is also very prosperous." After all, Chen Shooting was only 19 years old, and she still had the energy of a girl, curiously looking around at various places of interest. "Well, it's true that there are a few people, but there are a lot of rich people. Li Qing nodded. Hejiang is different from Xiangjiang. Xiangjiang is full of wealthy people, but Hejiang only has a few families. Among them, the He family is the most powerful family in Hejiang, controlling 80% of the casino operating rights in Hejiang. It can be said that without the He family's nod, it would be difficult for any force to survive here. The same is true for the underworld. There are not many famous figures in Hejiang. Brother Qing, I know that the meat buns in a restaurant are delicious. Let's go and try them. Chen Shooting grabbed Li Qing's arm and said coquettishly. Originally, Li Qing planned to meet Ao and others first, but he couldn't resist her and had no choice but to nod. Let's go, snacker. Half an hour later, Li Qing looked at the name of the hotel speechlessly and said, which restaurant is not good, I have to choose this one. The name of the restaurant that made Li Qing frown was called the Eight Immortals Restaurant. It was noon and people were coming and going in the restaurant. What was strange was that there was only one waiter busy. Lao Wang, are there only steamed buns today? An old customer asked with a frown. The guy surnamed Wang quickly wiped his hands with the towel on his shoulder, nodded and said, I'm sorry, Uncle Zhong. The boss and his family returned to their hometown and gave me the store, which was too busy. I'll make do with it today, and I'll recruit people tomorrow. All the diners joked, hire a little widow and you can solve your own personal problems. Today's buns are good, with thin skin and big fillings, and juicy. Yes, it seems that Lao Wang has become a boss and has become more generous. I said it should be a big reward for opening the business, and you should make a profit at a loss. Li Qing and Chen Shooting stood by and watched the customers eating the buns with big mouthfuls, their stomachs churning. These people are really beasts, I don't know if they will spit it out after knowing the truth. Boss, I see you have been standing here for such a long time. Do you want to try the meat buns? Wang's Haiheng asked with a smile. Li Qing looked at him with cold eyes. What is your relationship with Xiangjiang Huang's Heshan? The man in front of me looks very much like Huang's Heshan, but because he wears black-rimmed glasses, he looks much more elegant than Huang's Heshan. Do you know my old cousin? Wang's Haiheng looked surprised and stopped what he was doing. Li Qing lit a cigarette and took a deep breath. We know each other, very familiar. Wang's Haiheng looked at the man in front of him strangely. His calm expression didn't look familiar at all. Brother Qing, I want meat buns. Chen Shooting rubbed her belly and said coquettishly. Here, little girl, try it, it's delicious. Since we are acquaintances, I'll give you a 20% discount. Wang's Haiheng enthusiastically pushed the meat bun into Chen Shooting's hand. Unexpectedly, Li Qing reached out and knocked off the meat bun. The meat bun fell to the ground and rolled 3 times before being picked up by a stray dog. A sinister expression flashed across Wang's Haiheng's face, this is mine. He didn't want to cause more trouble. How dare you sell meat buns with added ingredients? Looking at Wang's Haiheng with contempt, Li Qing said disdainfully. Wang's Haiheng tightened his grip on the kitchen knife under the table, and murderous intent flashed in his eyes. The main reason is that Zhang Dongzhou standing behind Li Qing is too conspicuous, and he probably can't hit him even with a knife. Li Qing, save me. Li Qing's ears moved. His physical fitness was higher than that of ordinary people, and the sensitivity of his ears could be compared with that of a police dog. Frowning, he shook his head again. Maybe he heard wrongly. How could anyone in Hejiang know him? Sir, if you don't want to eat the meat buns, please leave quickly and don't hinder my business. Wang's Haiheng smiled. Yeah, I've been standing here for a long time without buying anything. Didn't you see anyone queuing up? It's just that he has no sense of public morality. Neighbors queuing behind them all denounced. Zhang Dongzhou glanced back, and the people behind him suddenly fell silent. Li Qing smiled. He originally wanted to mind his own business, but in this case he might as well forget it. You, be careful, you are easy to get beaten with your appearance. Stretching out his finger, Li Qing stretched out his index finger and tapped Wang's Haiheng out of thin air. Wang's Haiheng touched his face unconsciously. He was sure that this man must have a grudge against his old cousin. But now he didn't dare to do anything, he just hoped that this person would leave quickly. Li Qing turned around and planned to leave with the unhappy Chen shooting. Whoa, Li Qing, save me. No, someone did call me. Li Qing listened carefully to the direction of the sound with a serious face. The source of the sound was inside the restaurant. Where exactly was it? We still need to look carefully. Let's go and take a look. Zhang Dongzhou and Chen Shooting followed Li Qing to the inside of the restaurant with doubts. Sir, inside is our kitchen and cold storage, you can't go in. Wang's Haiheng said with a kitchen knife in his hand. What's wrong with you? You just queued up without buying buns. That's right, don't think we are afraid of you just because you have a big bodyguard. I run a restaurant. Can I just enter the kitchen? So awesome, you are a gangster, so many of us are afraid of you. The diners became more and more excited, and even a short guy stood up, looking like he was not convinced and wanted to hit me. What shameful things are there in the kitchen? Li Qing looked at Wang's Haiheng with a playful look, with a mocking look in his eyes. Wang's Haiheng felt a palpitation, and found that the person opposite him seemed to see through everything about him. Can you let others enter your house at will? Wang's Haiheng suppressed his fear and clenched the kitchen knife in his hand. Dongzhou. Li Qing looked at the mob and shouted without saying much. Zhang Dongzhou heard the sound and slapped Wang's Haiheng in the face with a palm leaf fan. Before Wang's Haiheng could react, he had fainted. Without even looking at Wang's Haiheng, Li Qing planned to open the door and walk into the kitchen. A dwarf flew over and attacked, and Li Qing dodged his flying kick. The dwarf sat in the posture of a white crane spreading its wings. Southern Mo family boxing, thank you. Good job. Come on, we can't let the criminals continue to commit crimes. The neighbors behind cheered and applauded. Thank you. Thank you. Li Qing pulled out a pistol from his waist and pointed it at the dwarf's forehead. Brother, let's talk it over, be careful of accidental discharge. The dwarf raised his hands and said carefully while looking at the barrel of the gun. When the neighbors saw that Li Qing had a gun, they immediately dispersed. In just a few seconds, there was no one in the restaurant. Open the door and go in, Li Qing ordered with a gun. Ah, brother, do I have to go in too? The dwarf felt the cold barrel of the gun on his forehead and swallowed his saliva. He turned around hesitantly, opened the door and walked towards the kitchen. Ah, the dwarf screamed as if he had seen a ghost. This big, brother, there are skeletons inside.